All right. Welcome to Irish Nation. I am your host, Cade Carpenter, and I am here alongside in studio, as always, with the man of the cloth himself, Mark Howard. Mark, how you doing?
Yes, Cade. I am glad to be here. Thank you for having me back, and again bringing up the moniker, the man of the cloth.
That's right.
I'm not sure exactly what that means, but
it sounds cool. I don't really know what the meaning is. I do know, speaking of cloth, though, a lot of good comments about your shirt. So that's encouraging. People liked it. You don't have it on this week, but it's okay.
I started to put it back on, then I thought, I've already done this, and should I do it again? And I thought, no. So I ordered, just so you know, I have some shirts coming that are really going to represent for the Irish. They didn't come in this week, so
heck yeah.
But
awesome.
Yep, you'll see some more shirts.
I'm really excited for that.
Everybody is.
So great show today. We have a wonderful game to review, but we're going to look at we're going to start out. They always say, if you want to be loved, don't have an opinion. And we may get some hate. We may get a little bit of pushback. But we're looking at who is the greatest Irish team of all time. We look at football teams. Who's the best? And then we're also going to look at how our district did this week. We'll review, of course, last week's matchup against Sundown and also highlight Irish Nation players of the game. But first, I wanted to say this really quick because I did a bad job explaining this. On last week's show, when we had Dave Campbell's players to watch, we were reviewing their list, which was released in June. So we were critiquing it. We were saying, hey, this is who should have been added. This is... we agree with who was on there, but we think they kind of missed these guys. At that time, Terry was not going to play. So Terry Minifield was not going to play football. He had a real bad knee injury. And so what we arrived to, and we discussed this before we did it, hey, we can't fault Dave Campbell's for not having him on there. So we're not going to have him on that. But then we looked at, okay, he's not a breakout player because he's already broke out. He's not an under-the-radar player. So we decided, well, at the end, when we talk about things we look forward to, we're going to mention Terry. So if Terry was healthy and if he didn't have any injuries, then, of course, we would have him on that list. But that wasn't our list. We were critiquing Dave Campbell's. So anyways, love Terry. Awesome, fun player to watch. We didn't mean to shaft you by any means. But I did get a phone call that morning and then have several people tell me, how is Terry not on your players to watch? And so
I had several people that actually talked to me about that, and consistently I blamed it on you.
Good. Thank you. That's a good thing to do. So talk to Kate about it. I wanted him on there, but he said no, and so we went with it.
He edited that out of the material. I'm not sure what went on there.
Right, but I'll let you take our kind of district recap.
All right. So how the district do? Well, we did pretty well for the first game. The first games are they're a little wonky anyway, but looking at our district schedule, we only had one team out of the district that actually won their first contest, and that was, not surprisingly, that was Wellington.
Shocker.
They defeated Frederick, Oklahoma. Don't know anything about Frederick or anything like that. But Wellington did Wellington things, and they beat Frederick 30-0. Clarendon didn't pick an easy game for their first game, their first non-conference. They played Panhandle, and Panhandle beat them 32-12. I talked to a couple of people who were at that game. They were pretty pleased actually with the way that Clarendon played. There were some what they felt like were bad breaks in that game that kept it from being a little closer than it ended up at 32-12. Lost to Panhandle. Memphis, Dimmitt thumped them pretty good, 36-14. And then Quanah lost to Archer City, 44-8. Wheeler, the mystery game of the week. Yeah. We were trying to figure out where Valley Mills is. We looked it up. They're down by Waco somewhere. That was, you talk about a long way. I think both teams had to drive like 3 hours to meet in the middle or something like that. So they lost to Valley Mills 13-0. I wish I could tell you I knew more about those teams, but I really don't know a whole lot.
Yeah, I don't have a clue. I don't know. I know 13-0 is not a bad loss, and that could be impressive. But I don't know anything about the teams they play.
Well, the Wheeler loss was the 13,
Right.
and really that was an interception return for a touchdown by Valley Mills, and then one offensive touchdown. So, does it sound like an offensive powerhouse? Maybe that was just a gigantic defensive struggle. We
Right.
don't know.
Yeah. And we'll know a little bit more too about Wheeler because they go week 2 for them is Hooker, Oklahoma. And Hooker's always been a very good football program. Last year they went they went the third round of playoffs, won 2 playoffs. They're a good team. So that will tell us. Honestly, I didn't learn anything from this first week of our
not really.
district. It was just kind of how it was.
Well, I think it's going to be a little bit like what we experienced even with our team. We went to play Sundown, and we learned a lot of things about our team. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But I think a lot of these games in the district kind of probably reflect that same thing, that you probably learned a lot about your team, but is that going to define the season for you? Well, there's no way that's going to define the season.
No, and people tend to overreact on the first game of the season too anyways. So now let's make some people upset.
Let's do it.
Who is the best Irish team? Or what is the best? Is it who or what? Is it who's the best Irish team of all time? What? Because yeah, that's right.
That'll upset some people right off the bat.
Okay. Yeah. So sorry, forgive me. So what was the best Irish team of all time? And I think when we looked at it, and if you didn't know this, Shamrock's very first game started in 1920.
Yep.
And we were both there cheering on the Irish. It was an intense game. We didn't know who was going to come out of that game. And I'll never forget it. It was cold. So yeah, I can't tell you much about that game, but 1920 first game, first season. And there's been a lot of teams since then, and over 103 teams. And we narrowed it down to 6. And that was a long process. There were some teams that came to mind, but some things we had to dive into. We didn't want to look into, just let's pull records and they got a playoff win, we'll put them there.
Yeah.
Because we want to see the quality of matchups they had. And I'll give this example. Of the 6 teams, the 2013 team didn't make our list. And I love a lot of those guys on there. They played hard, had a great season. The reason it didn't make our list is because they were 7-4, but the combined wins of the teams they beat was 6. And then they played they had a really easy matchup and they played a 3-7 Vega team in the playoffs. That just frankly was not very good. So that's why we're not just looking at records playoffs. And again, the 2013 team, a lot of good kids on there, played hard, played good. But just to give some in-depth, we looked at strength of schedule. How well did they play against high-ranked teams? When they lost, they lose big. We looked at a lot of different factors to really get that. The first team on our list, we started in 1950 because there were some teams in the 30s and 40s, but we could pull no data. We could look at records, but we couldn't tell you anything about them. So we didn't do that. But 1950 was very impressive. 1950, Shamrock Irish went 10-2, and they advanced over Phillips. If you know anything about Phillips back in the day, Phillips was probably one of the best dynasties that we've had in the Panhandle. They were very good.
No doubt.
This was 1950. 4 years later, Phillips won the state championship. They were always either playing for the state championship or winning it. That's just what they were doing. So they advanced over Phillips because only one team went to the playoffs back then, and they beat a really good Hereford team 20-6. They got knocked out in the second round, but this is a very good team. The 1951 team was a second team we have on this list, also very good. They were led by, I just love this note because we have this information from 70 years ago. They were led by power running backs Jenny Pennington, who rushed for 947 yards, and Don Carlton, who rushed for 713 yards on the season. Pennington actually invented the stiff arm. And I'm just kidding. I haven't seen any film on any of these guys. I doubt there's film, to be honest with you, on them, but they had some impressive stats.
Yeah.
They also advanced to the second round of the playoffs and finished with 9 wins on the season. But those two teams were really good. And then a team that was really spectacular. And honestly, in the Coley Huffman era, you could have picked a lot of teams. I think Coley came in like 66 or so and left in 73. But the 1970 team is the team we settled on. 1917 went undefeated. They had their wins. That was a tough schedule. They really should have been undefeated. They beat some tough teams. Panhandle was very good that year. And they thumped Panhandle.
Yes.
And they ended up tying with Childress 6-6. To play the top-ranked team in the state and play them 6-6 to tie, it is pretty dang remarkable. And Childress, because they only selected one team, it was a tie. They did a tiebreaker on first downs. Childress had more first downs.
Mm-hmm.
So Childress goes really deep. I think they win 3 or 4 playoff games, go really deep in the playoffs. So it makes you wonder what the Shamrock team would have done had that gone their way. But just a really remarkable team. Running back Ricky Gregg, it's pronounced Greg, right?
Greg.
Yeah. It's spelled Gragg, and I don't know this guy. See, this is why Pastor Mark is a great expert here, because he knows these people, knows the name.
Well, I was at that game. I remember that game.
Really?
Yes. That's one of the best games. I think I was like 2 or 3 years old. But that was, I wasn't 2 or 3.
No.
Actually, I was a lot older than that. But
were you 14 or how?
I'd be 70, so I would have been what?
What year did you graduate?
78.
Graduated in 78.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
no, you've been younger than that. So you've been like 10 or something like that.
Yeah, the 1978 team is not on our list of greatest teams. That's for sure. But anyway, I was there. I just remember it was an impressive football game, and Ricky was a fantastic running back, and just altogether outside of that Childress game, the Irish outscored their opponents that year 313-68.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, great defense.
That is by far the biggest margin of victories when we look through the years. That's wild. 313-68.
Yeah.
And again, these were against top tier teams.
That district that they played in with Childress and Panhandle, I think Phillips was still in there at that time. I don't remember. It had to be one of the top districts in the state.
Oh, yeah.
Had to.
Yeah, it was. And Ricky Gregg rushing for 1,800 yards, that's not too bad.
No.
That's
running back.
Pretty dang impressive. And then I'll let you take the rest of the ones that you have.
The next team that we talked about was the 1995 team. That's the final team in Shamrock history to go undefeated. They won their district. They went into the third round of the playoffs, and that was a legit team. They were very, very good, had great athletes, played hard. They were good on both sides of the ball, and so it's not surprising that they did so well. And then the 2021 team, we absolutely would put that team up there with the best of them. They set a school record for most points ever scored in a season. They had 496 points. That's a lot of points.
Yeah.
And they also set a school record for the most points ever scored in a game. They had 80 points in a game. That's crazy.
Yep.
Their only 3 losses were to teams that were in the top 10 at the state. And so, again, did very well. Would like to have seen them go a little deeper into the playoffs, but a really, really good team. And then the 2022 team, last year's team, the first team since 1972 and 73 to have back-to-back wins over Wheeler. They did a lot of things as far as record setting for Shamrock Irish, but they in those games, I've got to admit, I kind of like this. The collective score of those 2 games with Wheeler was 79-10.
It's big.
Go Irish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they snapped a 40-year losing streak to Quanah, and on and on and on. That was just a really, really special team, really good years. And both the 21 team and the 22 team produced 2 Division II football players that are playing right now in Division II and doing very, very well.
Yeah, it's very true. So those are the teams. We narrowed it down to 6. Who's the best? Who do you got? I'm curious.
I'll just tell you, just because I was there and saw this, packed stands, people standing. The stands were so full, people had to stand on the ground outside of the stands. There was no seating. The bands were fantastic. The cheerleaders were crazy. The atmosphere for the football game between Childress and Shamrock was so intense that I would just tell you, and this was the way the season was, that the 1970 team, I would have to put them there. They were so good.
So I totally agree with you, because when I looked at Dave Campbell's and I researched this and I saw just how good Childress was.
Yes.
And then for us to compete like that with the best of the best,
Yeah,
that's pretty remarkable. And like I said, there's other wins on that season, that undefeated season, that I think puts them there. But I go 1970. I think 1995 is really close.
they are close.
That's, to me, is number 2. They're super close.
As far as the number of really talented athletes.
Oh, yeah.
Shamrock was extremely athletic in 1995.
Loaded.
And they had a good team, but they really had great athletes.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about Ankton. I'm thinking about Bruton. I'm thinking about
Bobby Ryan. Bobby Ryan was good. Chris Robinson was good.
Yes.
Was it Preston Wilson, the receiver?
I believe so. Yeah.
Gosh, he could catch. But
Well, and they were so balanced.
yeah.
Run or throw. They were
Jeff
really,
Gilbert, another one that was very good.
Yes, yes.
He's
And
a
you could
solid-
just go off and name those off. They
Yeah.
had really good athletes.
That was a loaded team. And I don't know the 1970 team as far as athletes, but that 1995 team had maybe some of the most talented playmakers we've had.
There's no doubt that 1970 had good athletes, but they also had probably one of the top football coaches,
Yeah.
maybe in all of Texas high school football.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He actually came over to Shamrock from White Deer, taking him to the state championship game. That was the year before.
Yeah.
Really good resume. So we both select 1970. That's what I'd say.
That settles it. It's right then.
Yeah, but hey, let us know what team did we miss, or what team do you think is the best team, and tell us why. How did you land on that? All right, we are about to get into our matchup this past week against Sundown.
Okay.
But before we break down the game, we are going to look at some highlights of the game,
Let's do it.
starting right now.
It's the Fighting Irish up against the Sundown Roughnecks.
High formation. He's going to call his own number and run up the middle. Number 3 is where he's going to be met by number 21 for the Irish, Leighton Gilbert, in on that tackle after a short gain. Fake the handoff.
Oh,
Hits
yeah.
Rodney Holmes over the middle to the 50. Toss the 50 down to the 40. Breaks another tackle. He's going to carry that ball almost down to the 30-yard line. Cook's looking for a receiver, and he's got a guy open. He hits Holmes again at about the 25. Holmes breaks a tackle. And Holmes catches the ball and is going to go into the end zone for an Irish touchdown.
I like what I've seen from a very young, undersized team tonight.
Number 5, Cook back in the shotgun. Going to look downfield for 14. Braxton Allen.
Oh, he got it!
And he caught
He
it
got
at
it!
the
He's
45-yard line, and nobody in the same zip code, Buck.
He is gone!
Brought back up the middle, and he's going to be met by number 4 for the Fighting Irish. That's Gio Lopez. He brought down by number 12, Gunnar Turan.
He got, what do you call that? Nailed. There we
Kicks
go.
it deep. It's probably going to be fielded by Rodney Holmes at the 15. And he's looking for room. He breaks it up the middle, Buck, and he's got it. He's got it. He made it past
I think he's gone.
He's down to the 40.
He is
30,
gone.
20, 10.
He's in the red.
Shamrock Irish return the kickoff for a touchdown. 85 yards. His left, looking for a receiver. A lot of pressure from the Irish. Going to be intercepted by Shamrock Buck. Number 14, Braxton Allen. And off to the near side, number 11. Brought down at the line of scrimmage, that time by Philip Cook. 10 goes in motion, hands off to number 10. He's going to be tackled by number 33 for the Irish. Great solo tackle by Jeremiah Luna there. Going to get a first down here, Buck.
We got it.
And
He broke out.
broke the tackle, and he's going to get a big gain for the Irish. Pitch to number 21. Tackle by number 12 for the Irish, Gunnar Turan, for a loss of about a yard. Pass to Braxton Allen on the far side. He makes the corner. He's able to get up just short of the first down. And Cook looks deep, and nobody open. Comes to the near side, goes to Holmes. Holmes breaks the tackle, makes a man miss, and is going to take it down for a first down for the Irish.
And here we go, folks. We got a real slugfest going here tonight at Lockney.
Handoff around the near side. Number 11 is going to be brought down in the backfield by number 33, Jeremiah Luna, in on the tackle for a loss. He's going to roll to the right, looking for somebody Somebody open, nobody open. He's going to be tackled for a loss by number 33 for the Irish. Takes the ball and hands off up the middle to number 8.
Oh, he's got
a
some
little room to roam.
He got
He's
some
got a
room.
first down plus a little bit. Take the ball out to about the 45-yard line. Number 2 catches the ball out in the flat, and he's got the room. And he breaks it and gets to the sideline. Number 2 for the Irish, Colt Machina, with a good pickup.
Got about 4.5 minutes left in the game, folks. Clock is ticking. 34-18 the score. Sundown on top.
And he's going to do the quick punt thing. And Braxton Allen catches the ball at the 30, breaks a tackle. He's trying to get to the corner. Oh, and they're going to string him out. And they're going to bring him down at about the 33-yard line.
What a game. Those, even looking back on film, that honestly, some really awesome highlights. That was an entertaining game. It was one of those games, even though we lost, whenever like you talk to the fans and the players, everyone was really positive. I thought we competed, did really well, especially for the opponent we were going up against. We knew this is the same thing last year, going up against Sundown. They're a bigger classification, they're a bigger team, and they can rotate guys in, and we got worn down in the second half. And the same thing happened last year. We expected that. But man, I was so proud of how our guys competed.
Well, I think you even said, Cade, which is interesting, that you're going to take whatever advantage you can coming into a game like that because the object is to win the game. But with that many players on the field, what Sundown can do is just rotate people in, kind of thing, just to keep fresh legs in the game all the time. And you can kind of see that in the flow of the game. I mean, Shamrock hung with them through the halftime and kind of got away from them in the second half, but even then they never quit, that's phenomenal. So proud of that.
And that has kind of become, I think, their motto or the chip on their shoulder is, man, we are not going to quit. We are not going to give up no matter what it is. We're going to make you work for it. Whenever I first started a MMA place and went there, I had no clue what I was doing. I was trying to learn submissions, and what Eric, the main guy there, said is stop trying to submit people. I want you to focus on being the most difficult person to submit. That nobody wants to roll with you. Nobody wants to go against you because of how difficult you'll make it for them. And I feel like we keep that same mentality. Like we're going to make you earn this win. If we're going to lose this, we're going to make it difficult on you.
Yeah.
And I love that spirit. I those
too.
guys did not quit. And sign me up. I will watch that team every day of the week. I don't care if they win they win a game whole season. You compete, you fight like that. I love watching that.
Yeah.
So there was some first in this game. One of that was we threw the ball 80% of the time, which I thought was awesome. It was cool. It was fun to watch.
I'll be honest with you. I never thought I'd see a day where a team from Shamrock would throw the ball 80% of the time, but boy, they did it well.
Yeah, and you played to our strengths. We got wide receivers. We got talented wide receivers. We're playing to our strengths. 36 pass attempts. That's a lot. It's actually the first time, too, that we had 2 receivers in Braxton Allen and Roddy Holmes. They both had over 100 receiving yards. That's pretty phenomenal.
That's excellent.
So we talked a little bit about it, but was there any major takeaways that you had from that game?
Well, I think the immediate takeaway was just the hard play. They stayed after it for the entire game. I thought the passing game, well, it's pretty self-evident. The passing game was
sharp,
effective. It was sharp, quick, and not just little dink passes, but I mean, we had passes down the field. We had passes to the middle of the field, and then effectively, really, at least in this game, the short passing game was in lieu of a running game. We did a little bit of running, and some of the running was relatively effective, but I mean, when you're passing the ball 80% of the time, those short passes take the place of a running game, and then it did that. So I think, boy, more of that. When I say more, I don't know how you do more than 80%, but I mean just the quality of the passing game. I think it really showed that can be a real strength for our season. I think we're going to have to balance it out a bit through the year with. You just can't be one-dimensional against some of the teams that we play.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have to balance that out with the running game. But I just thought altogether a really good game, and I would really appreciated how hard the guys played.
Yeah, they gave it their all, and I love watching it. I love watching guys that won't quit, won't give up. And so we're gonna look into our players of the game and who stood out. This was hard. We deliberated on this. We took a couple of days of going, gosh, we look at one person and go, well, it should be this person because, well, they did this on this side of the ball, but this person did this. Well, they prevented them from scoring, but, well, they actually scored on this. And so if we give this list and you disagree with it, I'm not going to fight you on it. We try to do the best that we could, just bring in with what we saw and what the players did, just bring you the players we thought deserved it. I think there's a lot of guys that were deserving that didn't make this list, but we had a lot of good things to look at. We had a lot of, especially on the offensive side, a lot of good guys making big plays, and it was difficult. But we don't want to give, award to everybody, and we want to, not do the everybody wins thing. We want to single out players and reward their, effort. This was probably the easiest one. Irish Nation Player of the Game.
Here it comes.
This is overall all facets of the game, how they played, how they contributed, and it was number one, Rodney Holmes. And by the way, Rodney, I'm so upset at you because I had a whole line picked out in my head that I was going to say this year. I was going to say, because you wore 6 for the last 3 years. I was going to say, hey, why does Rodney wear 6? And then Pastor Mark would say, why? And I would say, well, because whenever he lines up as a DB, he wants the opposing quarterback to know how many points he's about to give up if he passes it his way. Can't use that line now because he changed. Yeah.
How about this one?
Yeah.
Number 1 on the field and in our hearts.
There you go. You got it. Absolutely. That's a lot better. Yeah. But the thing is, it took me like 7 months to think of mine. So by the time it's next season, I'll think of something with the number 1. But Rodney, heck of a game. He was really, our offense was flowing through him. And he had, so his stats on this, so he finished the line with 12 receptions, 103 yards, touchdown reception. He also had an 82-yard kick return to the house and had 7 tackles on defense. So when I look at this, we didn't run the ball that much, and our first downs mainly came, I don't have the stat, but I love how many first downs that he got us because it had to be pretty high. But he played at an elite level, very high level, higher than he did last year. And I was, to me, he was the player of the game.
Well, I think so. And I think you add to that, that's a lot of work on offense, but he also had 7 tackles on defense. And I can think of at least one, maybe two, that had he not made the tackle, they'd have been gone.
His
so
good field vision
good
was
game.
so good. I love it because our fans freak out a little bit when he gets a kickoff because he catches it and he pauses and he's looking at where the lanes are and everyone's yelling, run. I'm like, man, let him do his thing. He's scoping it out.
Yeah.
And he has great field vision. Excellent. But what a game. Great job.
That's a
Rodney.
good game.
And then with our offensive player of the game, this was one that was difficult. And we hate doing like co-awards, but I think both of these people in this are deserving of it.
Yeah.
And when you got a quarterback that makes his very first start in Philip Cook, number 5, he makes 36 passing attempts and has 0 interceptions.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. And so Philip did excellent. He went 22 of 36 through the air. I think he had 230 something passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. But all that was made possible by probably the biggest surprise for me was our O-line.
Yes.
Whoa. If you know this, I think we ran the ball 9 times. 80% of it was passing. So there's a lot of opportunities for a quarterback to get sacked because he's hanging out there in the pocket. We gave up 1 sack. And the discipline that our O-line played with, I was a little concerned, not going to lie. After the scrimmage, I was going, man, I hope we just don't jump off the sides all the time. I hope there's not a whole lot of holding penalties. We were played very disciplined football as a whole and very, very few penalties. I was really impressed. We had no false starts. We had no offsides, none of that. We had 1 holding penalty, the only one I can remember that our O-line got. They played disciplined, good football. Little Jesse Ramos, shout out. I gave you a hug after the game. Ain't doing that again. You were drenched in sweat. I admire that, but man, you put your heart out there. And so our center, number 54, Jesse Ramus, again getting his he's one of the linemen that we have on there, getting his first start at center, did so good. Looked real polished, great snaps, held his guy, he was a monster, played his heart out. So
all over the field too, just not just in the pocket where the center's playing, but there were times where he was getting out on secondary blocks, and just really impressive from that position. And again, I'm like you. If you can cleanly snap that ball in the offense that we run, because you're doing a shotgun snap, and he did a really, really good job. That was impressive.
And that is what I looked at. So Jesse played on defense as well as 65, because I'm going to list all these O-linemen out.
Yeah.
Number 65, Kyle Ishii, did very good. Number 64, Israel Reyes. Number 52, Eric. Is it Valles?
Is it Viegas?
Vegas?
I'm not sure.
I don't
Sorry
know. Let
about
me
that,
know,
Eric.
Eric. Yeah, my bad. And then number 75, Ricardo Saldivar. Ricardo was unmovable. He moves his feet. He's one of those linemen that he doesn't just stand up straight. He works.
Mm-hmm.
And guys did not get past him.
No.
He's gotten a lot stronger this year. I've noticed that. He's a lot stronger, and gosh, I was really impressed with Ricardo. But I got to give a major shout out to, the deliverer himself.
The deliverer.
Mr. Moses, Raymond Saldivar, freshman, went in there, only freshman, did really good, controlled, did disciplined football, did not look like a freshman. Raymond did so good. I was very proud of him. There was a lot of pressure going into that position, but starting, and he may get himself a starting job in the future. I thought he did extremely well.
Pretty solid.
When called upon, he delivers, and he did. And then our defensive player of the game, this was easy. This was super easy. Jeremiah Luna. Whoa.
Incredible.
Oh my gosh.
Got better. Cade got better as the game went on. It was just his second half may have been one of the best defensive second halves I've seen in a long time. And we've had some really good defenses. It was next level as far as I'm concerned.
He played like a madman. Lunatic Luna. That's probably a little bit.
We'll have to work on that one.
That seems a little bit. I don't know if I'll go with that one or not. But man, you played your heart out. Did really good. Also, it was on defense, but his 40-yard run was great, because as soon as he got past the line, he goes, "Oh gosh, I'm
got to keep running."
Yeah, I got to keep going, and it did really good. I was very proud of number 33, Jeremiah Luna, played linebacker and running back. What a good job. Junior out there playing solid. So he's our Irish Nation Defensive Player of the Game.
That's number 33 in your program, Mr. Luna.
You got it.
So our special teams player of the game is Mr. Holmes, Mr. Number one in our heart and on the field. Rodney Holmes scored on a really, really nice 82-yard kickoff return. That wasn't the only return that he did well. He is really in a proper place. He's in a great place. He is absolutely the right person to be back on kickoffs. He is a returner, no doubt about it. Scares us, but boy always knows what he's doing. And so then also we'd have to mention as well Braxton Allen. This is kind of a special thing. He had a couple of good returns too, and was just kind of the cement that held everything together. Had 106 receiving yards and a touchdown, a 72-yard, I believe it was, touchdown on a beautiful pass play. And so Braxton, number 14, as always, really solid. And then talk about that interception on defense.
Oh, it's amazing. And he times this really well. He's a wide receiver, and you say this all the time. You say wide receivers always make good DBs,
yes,
or the other way around. And it shows true with Rodney and Braxton. Mm-hmm. And a beautiful time interception that he got. The play of the game for me, and I love this. This goes back to our guys' mentality, how we're playing. Is this was late in the fourth quarter, 34-18. Game is pretty far out of reach. They punt it, and I'm going, he's going to fair catch. He's going to fair catch. Sundown gets really close. I'm like, okay, even if we're competing this, you're probably going to do a fair catch or step aside, let the ball roll. It doesn't really matter. And I'll be danged if Braxton didn't step up, catch that, almost got clocked. And then he made about 3 or 4 guys throwing them, shucking them off. fought for every yard. That just, to me, embodies the fighting Irish spirit that our guys have shown in the fourth quarter. Is we will not give up, and we will not quit, and we'll fight. And people love that. And I hate not to make another MMA reference, but in the UFC, whenever a guy's fighting and he has 2 losses in a row, he's on the ropes. He gets a 3rd loss, he gets cut. Because most people will want, you got to win. If you get 4 losses, you're done. Tony Ferguson has lost his last 5 fights, but people love watching him fight because he doesn't quit. He got put in an arm bar. That guy cranked it the other way around, but he wouldn't tap out. But people love to watch people who don't quit, who don't give up. And that's how our guys are. I really don't care if we win well, I kind of do care.
I do.
Let me take that back. I'll say it this way.
We will win games.
We will win, absolutely.
Because of that attitude. Tony Ferguson, to use your example, is a pretty good MMA fighter.
Yeah.
He's won a lot of matches. We will win games with that attitude because things come around to people who work hard.
Yeah, it does. But when you watch teams like that, it did not feel like a loss because I was so proud of how everyone played. We all kept our composure. We did not lose it. We played disciplined football. We talked about young and inexperienced. It didn't look like it.
No.
I was very proud of everybody. Hit of the night, there was a lot of hits. This was hard. Philip Cook had a great pursuit, great tackles, hit the guy, had a really good tackle. Leighton Gilbert, probably the flashiest. If there's a slot or category for coolest looking hit, I think he would get it. He flipped the dude over his shoulders, little old Leighton. That was impressive. That was really cool. But another guy has some tackles, and I'll let you take it.
Yeah, I'd have to say the hit of the night for me really came down to 3 plays. I think there were some excellent defensive plays, but Jeremiah Luna just time and time again, particularly in the second half, just really laid people out. There were 2 plays on the quarterback where he stopped. One was a sack. Another was a tackle behind the line where he just appeared. It's like there was no one around the runner, and then all of a sudden Jeremiah just flashed to the football and took him down. But that wasn't his best hit. The best hit was a quarterback run, a designed run on Sundown coming up into the line. We had 2 or 3 guys in good possession to make the tackle, and then all of a sudden the guy was just gone. Jeremiah just disappeared him.
Yeah.
And it was just so impressive.
Perfect form tackle.
Perfect. And he shucks blockers. He moves his feet. He gets in position. But when he decides to close on the football, it's over. It's over. You're just not going to get away from him. So I would say that hit up in the line on their quarterback, that was just as pretty as anything I saw during the entire game. Yeah,
it was incredible. So a lot of good selection there for hit of the night. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of good hits. So let's preview. Let's look into our game this week.
Yeah,
we have West Texas High. They're 1-0. They're coming off a win over Health Center, 23-14, and they have a pretty darn good playmaker. Stinnett's quarterback his name's Cade Winters. He wears number 4. He's a sophomore, and in his debut, he had 2 rushing touchdowns, a passing touchdown, and rushed for 159 yards. Mm-hmm. Just did it on 6 carries. So very good. The only thing about that is he left late in the game with an injury, so we don't know if he's healthy or not for this game. He's really kind of their primary, their team, and I kind of hope he goes and plays for that challenge.
I've seen play.
But I would say either way, Irish roll, because Cade Winters is good, but to me, is he better than Braxton, Rodney, Phillip, than those guys we got? I don't think so. Mm-hmm. And we got more than just one guy. We got a lot of playmakers. And so I think this will be a great win for the Irish as they travel to Stinnett. We, by the way, this will be a turf field. 7 out of the 10 games we play are on turf, which is great for us. And so we'll be playing on turf in Stinnett, Texas against West Texas High, and that'll be this Friday. And so when we look at this game, what are some keys to winning the game that you have, Pastor Mark, or what do you think?
I go back to the offensive line. I think they established or began something in this first game with Sundown, beginning to really establish their identity as a line and working as a team, using the fundamentals. I just saw a lot of good things to build on. I think that's certainly one of the keys to the game, is that the offensive line, again, plays consistently and that we get the ball in the hands of our playmakers. So the passing game is going to be primary. But I also think that we have to develop more of a running game, and I think this will be a good chance to do that. I don't know that West Texas. I don't know that West Texas, will bring that much of a challenge from their defensive line or anything like that. Now, Mr. Winter's a good defensive player too, but I don't think across the board they're going to be that strong against the run. And I would like to see the run established a little bit more. But I'll tell you, when you have a passing game that produced the way it did against Sundown, and Sundown is I think certainly a better team probably altogether than West Texas is. But if you can do that against them and it works, well, I don't know that I would change that formula a whole lot, although I really would like to see the running game come into play a little bit more.
I think, honestly, we'll probably throw for 350 yards. I'll be honest. And gosh, that's one of the best passing attacks I've seen. It's darn good. And our receivers are so good. Our O-line, things were clicking really good on offense for us. And I agree with your keys to winning. Honestly, and you usually don't say this after the first game of the season, but a lot of it's just doing what you did the first week. Now, can Stinnett do what Sundown did to us with rotating players through? No, they can't. And so they don't have that advantage. But, man, just keep on playing disciplined, good, hard-nosed football and doing your assignments, doing what you're supposed to do, playing together. I love that. None of our guys turn on each other.
Yeah.
Honestly, just keep on doing what you're doing is what I would say.
It's good if we play that clean, that's going to keep us in games. We just looked so good. That was really encouraging. The lack of penalties was really, really something. So keep the game clean like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then players to watch. Who do you got for? So, and by the way, I'm gonna clarify this. When we say players to watch, we're not talking about the obvious ones with Braxton, Rodney. We're not talking about those guys. We're talking about maybe some guys you wouldn't see coming, or maybe some guys that we think will contribute in a big way, not the obvious ones.
Two players, I think, actually had pretty good games against Sundown. I think the size of Sundown kind of wore them down through the game, but they stayed in and played hard. And I think they're going to have good games this week. Gunner, number 12, and Logan, number 35, both good games at their positions on the defensive end. And I think they'll do even better this week. I think they're going to really gain in confidence. They know that they can do it now, and I think you're going to see good games out of them. Who are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I agree with yours fully. I'm going to say Colt Machina. He's impressed me really big on defense. Now, he had a catch, I think it was like for 20 yards, did really good. But he's been very good on defense. And so Colt Machina is one all throughout there. And then one I just love watching because he plays so hard is Jesse Ramus. And his snaps are so good.
Yeah.
He plays with a lot of heart. And I think my players would be Colt Machina and Jesse Ramus. And be excited to see who pops out that we didn't realize.
We're looking forward to the unexpected players, the ones that we don't see anyway. Maybe somebody else expects it, but for us, the unexpected players, it's always fun. And it's high school football, man. Somebody will jump up and just really make some big plays. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a good week. We really want to encourage our Shamrock folks to travel. Yeah. It's not that far. It's a great facility, and our boys really deserve a crowd there to back them. So let's travel well and yell for the Shamrock Irish.
That's right. And we're going to try something a little bit different. So most of our kids are not on Facebook. Facebook doesn't seem cool. And so we appreciate people because we'll post a link. You can follow this show, by the way, at Shamrock Texas Football -Irish Nation. But there's also a YouTube channel with the same name. And what we're going to encourage, while all these kids, most of them don't have Facebook, every single one of them has YouTube. And we want to spread some positivity and some encouragement for those kids. So when this video gets posted, if you're listening to this on air, it's posted on YouTube. If you don't have an account, it takes like 30 seconds. Create an account. on YouTube and leave a comment of encouragement. Single out some players. Tell them what you liked last week, what you look for this week. But leave some positive encouragement because our guys can see that. So that's a good way to communicate with our team, get some shout outs to players, and just bring some positivity to them. But again, we appreciate the Facebook comments, but a lot of kids don't see that. So if you can, leave a YouTube comment, single out some players, give them a pat on the back because they deserve all the recognition they can get. So that's what we ask for you to do. And other than that, we will see you Friday night as the Shamrock Fighting Irish take on the West Texas Comanches. We are looking forward to this game. It's going to be exciting. It is an entertaining football. We're playing some fun football. So come out and watch it and support the Irish.
Yeah, be sure and come by and say hello to us and let us know how you think the program's going.
Yeah.
And we appreciate the fans and we appreciate the players. And all I've got to say is go Irish.
Yeah, baby.